I'm Margie Gendler Alperson, and I have 3 children, who I'll tell you about later on. For now, I want to talk to my children a little, and I want to tell you about your Zadie and your Bubby. They were born in Shumsk, Russia, and they knew each other from the time they were small children. In fact, my mother used to tell us that Zadie would take her pigtails and pull them. And so that's how they got started knowing each other. My dad attended both Jewish and Russian schools. He spoke 9 languages: Russian and Ukrainian, Polish, German, Lithuanian, Aramaic, Yiddish, and both ancient and modern Hebrew. In 1921, they came, my Zadie and Bubby came to the United States, and they already had 4 children, an older sister and 3 boys, and they arrived here with no money. My father his family was pretty well off in Russia, but once the Polish took over, the Russian money didn't mean anything. So they got here, and Zadie had just a few cents in his pocket. But he met H. Brzezinski, who was the chief rabbi here in Omaha. And Rabbi Brzezinski trained him to be a shoichet, and he received his authorization from Brzezinski. Zadie then went on to work at Cudahy Packing House. He was head of the kosher kill there. He also had a wholesale meat business. And thank God they did thrive and had 4 more children. So as far as Bubby was concerned, her big job was taking care of 8 children. She even made the boys' shirts. She was a wonderful mother. I miss her to this day. And Zadie was really a biblical scholar. He studied every day. And he had such faith in God. I envy him, because my faith, I'd love to be as strong as his, but sometimes I question. He never questioned. He definitely believed. And we would turn to him in times of sorrow or trouble, because we knew that we could lean on him. When my mother died, he was the strong one. We all turned to him for help. When my brother died, same thing. We leaned on him, and he was strong. It was unbelievable how strong he was. He was very bright. In his later years, he was almost blind and couldn't read anymore. He gave away a lot of his books. But for Passover Seder, he would still conduct the Seder, and he had memorized the Haggadah. He knew it, the entire Haggadah by heart. So he was able to lead the Seder. It was unbelievable. And we had a great family. With 8 of us, we did talent shows, and we had a lot of fun. And I'm grateful that 3 of my brothers are still living, and my 2 sisters are still living, and we're very close. As far as you guys are concerned, I'm very proud of all 3 of you. You've made me a very, very proud mom. Joel has achieved a lot, I think. He also, and by the way, I was born in Omaha, and Joel and all 3 of you were born in Omaha. Joel is a past national co-chair of United Jewish Communities National Young Leadership Cabinet. He was awarded the Jewish Agency's Harry B. Rosen Young Leadership Award, which is given to 2 international and 1 U.S. recipient in each year. In 1995, he became a member of United Jewish Communities Prime Minister's Division. He's won Omaha's Young Leadership Award. He served as an advisor for 10 years to BBYO's founding chapter, AZA1. He's currently UJC's Network Communities National Chairman. The network comprises 300 small Jewish communities around the U.S., 360 rather. For the previous 4 years, Joel served as UJC's Midwest Regional Major Gifts Chair and Financial Resources Division Chair. He was also the General Campaign Chair for the Omaha Federation's 2000 campaign. He speaks in communities all over the country on topics including solicitation training, overseas allocations, and Jewish motivation. He's president of Omaha Fixture International, an importer and distributor of retail display fixtures, serving retailers nationally. He's created a Jewish lecture streaming audio website at www.jdo, instead of radio it's a J, jdo.org, and is also a member of the Young Presidents Organization. Amy, my middle child, resides in Passaic, New Jersey. She received a BS from University of Michigan, a master's in general psychology from Columbia U, a master's in clinical psychology from Fordham, and a doctorate in clinical psychology from Fordham. She has 3 children, Esther, Gabrielle, and Eliana, all of whom have attended Orthodox Jewish day schools through high school. Esther will attend Barnard College at Columbia University in the fall, and her husband Todd is a dentist. He has 2 children, Jessica and Michael. And Amy works with Hand in Hand, which is an organization that gives what she describes as tender, loving care to people who are in need. And they bake and cook. She has a group of women who bake and cook for these various women who need help. And she was also a member of the Young Leadership Cabinet. Carol is, she was active in high school in BBYO, serving as charter president of MZ Yoshana. She graduated from Duke University with a BA in psychology, and she attended Duke's grad school on a 4-year fellowship and graduated with a PhD in organizational behavior. She moved to Kansas City and began working for Hallmark and began volunteer work with Kansas City's Jewish Federation. Her first position was as co-chair of Benot Kahala, a young women's leadership group. Then served as vice president for education and went on to co-chair the Women's Division Campaign Cabinet. At that time, she became a Lion of Judah and endowed her gift. She was given the Kansas City Federation's Young Leadership Award in 2002. And she's a member of the Young Leadership Cabinet, which is a national UJC organization. She's also a member of the Board of Trustees for Hyman Grand Hebrew Academy in Kansas City, which is a Jewish day school. Carol's married to David Porter and has 2 children, Sophia and Joseph. And as far as I'm concerned, I had a great life growing up. I was the baby of the family, so I was spoiled rotten, which I think I've told you kids. And we had loads of fun, and I adored my brothers and sisters. My oldest brother worked in Chicago, and I was a little girl. He was somewhat older than I. And when I knew he was coming to visit, even though I knew he was driving from Chicago, wouldn't be home until evening, I would sit out on the front porch in the morning and stay there until he got home. I absolutely adored him. And I think that about covers it. I could go on and on about my father. He was a wonderful man. He and my mother used to have some little jokes between them. My mother would sit down to have a cup of tea, and he'd say, "Esther, du willst nicht trinken," which means, "Esther, you won't drink that." And she'd say, "Yes, I will," and she'd start giggling. She couldn't drink. And when she tried to take the cup to her lips, he'd go, ah, and she'd have to put it down because she was laughing so hard. Till he finally said, all right, the can's clinking, so you can drink. So she did. And he fooled her every April Fool's Day for many, many years. Every April Fool's, he would play a trick on her. It was an important phone call, and she'd go running to the phone. He would figure out something new every year. So they were great fun to watch. They were really cute together. And so I'm very grateful for my life. And of course, for you three kids who have been the joy of my life, the best thing that's ever, ever happened to me. I love you all very much. And if you have any questions for me when I see you, you can certainly ask them. I love you all.
Margie, I'd like you to talk a little bit about each one of your brothers and sisters.
Okay.
By name.
Okay. My the oldest sibling is Jean, who is about 23 years older than I. And she was like a second mother to me. She helped take care of me. Jean was very sweet. Right now, she's in her 90s and still going strong. She's at Remington, she's not in the assisted living area, but there is an assisted living area there. She's just in her own apartment. She has great fun playing shuffleboard, whatever games they play. Anything they do, she's excited about, and she loves when we come to visit. So she's well taken care of, and she's very happy. Then there was my brother Chuck, who was a prince of a man. Everybody loved him. He was the favorite of the family, and none of us minded because he was our favorite too. He was just the most wonderful man I've ever met. Irv was a character. He was so funny. He just enjoyed playing tricks. They had Best Appliance. That was Irv and Chuck and Hi and Norman. And Irv would go up to a customer and try to sell him a TV, and he would tell the customer, this TV set came in #1 in the blindfold test. And they'd accept it. It sounded good to them. So that's what he used to do. He was great fun. And then Norman, who is so well-versed in Yiddish, it's unbelievable. He speaks Yiddish like he came over from the old country. So it's great fun to listen to him talk. And he's living in Chicago. And then there's Sammy, who's living in Minneapolis. He's 80 years old. He looks about 55. He walks 6 miles a day. And he's a great father. And fun to be with. Just great fun to be with. Very young, looking and acting. And then there's Jaime, who's a sweetheart, who we love to tease, and he loves to tease back. And he lives in Omaha. Don't get to see him as much as I'd like, but when I do, I just have a ball with him. And then there's Sally, my sweet, wonderful sister, who does so much for me. She knows when I need something. I don't even have to ask her. She knows, and she takes care of it. She's got me through a lot of things that I could not have done as well without her. And then there's me, the baby, which I used to hate. I hated being called baby. Now I love it. And as I said, I had a great life growing up. We had our talent shows. I played piano, and if anybody dared to talk, I would yell at them and say, I'm playing the piano. I thought I was really good. I wasn't, but I thought I was. And that's pretty much. Of course, Pacey was my husband, who I loved very much, and he too did a lot of things that were very successful. And it was a very, very bad time when I lost him, but I got through it, and I think of him often, and I think he helped me. This sounds strange, but I do believe he helped me get through my grief period. There were a couple of things, I won't go into them, but they were miraculous that happened, that told me he was still around. So I'm grateful for the life I've had. I hope it continues as well as it did in the past. And I look forward to all my family being together.
Margie, I'd like you to talk a little bit about school, starting with grade school.
My
Yes.
schooling? Oh, okay. I went to Webster Grade School, which was torn down a few years ago, and I had great fun in grade school. It was a real learning experience. We had someone of every culture, race, religion, you name it, and we all got along very well. So then you went through 8th grade and then went to high school. High school, I started off not very well. I had broken my leg during the summer. I just had gotten the cast off, and I couldn't walk very well. And one day I started to fall down the stairs, and I grabbed another student to keep me from falling, and she gave me such a glare. She was really angry, and I felt terrible. I was so embarrassed. You know, I was a freshman, and this was an upperclassman, and she wasn't happy. I went through Central High School, had excellent teachers, outstanding English program, which I thank for my decent vocabulary now. Then I went to University of Omaha, and I got my BS in education from there. Unfortunately, I didn't like teaching, so I went into another field, and eventually wound up in real estate, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But my husband Pacey wasn't thrilled because the phone would be ringing and I'd be running, and he was not happy, so I finally gave it up. And then we traveled, had a wonderful time. Pacey had a heart attack when he was 37, and we decided we weren't going to wait for anything. We had a swimming pool built, which we couldn't even afford, but he wanted a swimming pool. We got the swimming pool. We took trips all over. Major one was to Russia. Our kids paid for the entire trip for our 37th anniversary. And we went to Moscow and Kiev and St. Petersburg, Warsaw. Outstanding trip at first-class hotels, first-class plane accommodations. I mean, they really went to a lot of trouble for us. And it was only a few months later that Pacey died. So that was about 11 years ago or 12. And I'm so grateful to my wonderful kids for giving us that trip, because we were able to go. They gave us a certificate that said, this entitles you to go to visit the land of your fathers. And unfortunately, Shumsk was no more. That was destroyed. Joel had gone there to check it out first, and he said, no point in going. But we did go to St. Petersburg and met some distant relatives of Pacey's. So we did everything. I'm very grateful for that. We didn't wait, and we had a good time.
Margie, how did the Gendlers end up in Omaha, Nebraska?
Okay, my mother's father and mother had moved here from Russia, and they were able to authorize my father and mother and the 4 kids to come to Omaha. And they came here because my Zadie and Bubby and their children were here. And so the unfortunate thing was that my dad couldn't get the rest of his family over here. And his one brother, 3 sisters, parents were all killed by the Nazis. And he never got over that. I used to hear him crying at night. It was, I'm sure he blamed himself for not being able to get them over here. He tried everything he could, but he couldn't. So that part was sad. But I think we all had a good life. My father never looked at another woman after my mother died. There were women who wanted to go out with him. No way, he wouldn't do it. But that's basically what happened. I mean, there are other stories, but I'm not going to go into those.
Can you tell me a little bit about your activities while you were in high school with Jewish clubs and Jewish kids?
I remember the name of it. I think I belonged to LSA, which was a BBYO group. And I had friends, went to a few parties, And I enjoyed myself, but somehow high school was not as much fun as grade school and college. I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably should have. And maybe it's because I got off on the wrong foot, literally, after I broke my leg. But Central was a wonderful school. I'm very glad I went to it because I learned a lot there. I don't think I learned as much in college as I did at Central.
Margie, do you remember going to the synagogue on holidays?
Oh, yes, yes. Of course, the women sat upstairs, and they had smelling salts, which were horrible. Somebody tried to get me to smell one, and I almost passed out. It smelled, I think they called it schmeck tabaka, smell tabaka, and that must have been smelling salts. And, but a lot of the time, I fooled around. I was with friends outside, you know how that goes. And I tried to pay attention, but I really didn't. My one regret is that I didn't pay more attention to my father's learning. I could have learned so much from him. And I was too young to appreciate all of his knowledge. And to this day, I regret that. I could have learned a lot from him. And my father was a cantor in Council Bluffs. He would do the high holidays there and some other holidays. So that...
What synagogue did you belong to?
I think it was something Adas Yeshurun, which was down around 25th and Seward, and then they moved to 30th and Cumming. And that was one I remember more than the other. But we walked everywhere. You know, Shabbos we did not ride, we walked. And the one, 25th, was probably about a mile away.
I'd like to hear a little bit about how a normal meal was at the Gendler home,
Oh.
not on the holiday.
Oh my gosh. It was wonderful, it was scrumptious. My mother was the best cook and baker. The only thing that didn't work was when she tried to use a recipe. It was never as good. She had to use the recipes that were in her head. And she would make strudel. And there was one thing my brother Chuck loved, and I'm trying to think what they called it. Sweetbreads. But of course they called it something else in Yiddish. Nobody else could stand sweetbreads. She would make it just so Chuck could have it. Of course, chopped liver, a chopped egg salad, every kind of meat, brisket, roasts, chicken. She would make pitcha, which was like a soup that's made from a cow's leg. It was wonderful. I mean, anybody else who hadn't eaten it probably would turn their noses up. But it was great. It was so good. And she put some garlic in it, and we'd sop it up with some challah. So that was usually the beginning course. And then it went on with vegetables and maybe fruit and all the meats, and never only one meat. I mean, it would be chicken and roast, or at least two things, sometimes three. And her meals were outstanding. Her chicken soup, my sister and I try to make it the same way. It never tastes the same. She was the best chicken soup maker of anybody I know. She made strudel that was out of this world. People would ask her when they had a special occasion if she would make her strudel. She made dill pickles. The whole neighborhood would wait for the dill pickles to be ready. And everything. She'd make cakes that were marvelous. Cinnamon rolls that were so delectable. I've never had a cinnamon roll like hers. I've had good ones, but never as good as Mom's. So, yeah, our meals. And if somebody wanted something totally different, she'd make it for them. And I know when I was going with Pacey, we'd stop there almost every day. And my mom would fix us lunch, which I think now is terrible of us. Why did we put her to so much work? But she enjoyed it. So that's what we did. And she did the same thing with my kids. And I was a little unfair. I always worried, the kids won't eat their dinner if they have snacks at Mom's. And I should have let her enjoy doing that. And sometimes I'd say, no, they can't have it. Which I'm sure now I realize probably hurt her. So she did love to feed the family. That was her biggest joy.
Were you children able to help her for normal mealtime?
Yeah, especially for Pesach. Sally and I would help her with the cooking because, everything was by hand. Gefilte fish, she chopped by hand. I don't know how she did it, because I tried to do it for a few minutes and my arm felt like it was going to fall off. But she managed. She made everything by hand. Olipses, which some people call halishkas, out of this world. And I tried to take her recipe for strudel. She made it while I watched. Doesn't work. It's just not hers. So she was just a wonderful mother, homemaker. She was good to her friends. If her friends needed something, she was there for them. Sometimes I felt they were even taking advantage of her. She never complained. She was just a wonderful, wonderful woman.
On just a normal evening meal, did you have most of your siblings with you?
Yes, we did.
You ate together then?
Yes, yeah, and we had a great time.
I'd like to hear about a Seder at your home.
Oh, it was wonderful. We went through the entire Haggadah, songs and everything. And of course, as I said, my father led it. And the in-laws, the sisters-in-law were there. All the kids were there. And it was great, And my dad, I miss the songs that he sang, because his melodies are different from some of the melodies today, and I miss his melodies. I try to remember them when we have Seder. I try to lead by singing. It's not like my father, but he always had a beautiful Seder.
You notice as we mature, not get older, as we mature, we really begin to appreciate what our mothers did.
Oh my,
how much
yes.
work they had to do.
Oh my gosh. When I think of her in the middle of the night making shirts for the boys, she worked so hard. I remember she'd have a saying as she was older. She said, "Ich fall von der Fies." That means she feels like she's going to fall. She was so tired, but she always did it.
Did you talk Yiddish at home?
Not much. My folks did, and that's how I learned it. But we didn't speak a lot of Yiddish at home. When Casey and I were in Israel, the first time we were in Israel, we visited some distant relatives of mine, and they spoke Yiddish. So for about an hour, we were speaking Yiddish to each other, and poor Casey couldn't speak Yiddish. So I didn't realize it was probably bothering him. He couldn't say anything. So then they brought out a bottle of brandy, and poor Pacey said, "Oh, brandy!" At least he said something. I tried not to laugh, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, that's when I really brushed up on my Yiddish, when I spoke to my relatives. And it does come back.
I'd like to hear you tell me a little bit about meeting Pacey.
Oh, well, it was a blind date. A friend of his told him about me, and he called me. And I knew who he was. I had seen him in high school, but he didn't remember me. So I thought, okay, a nice Jewish boy. I'll go out with him. And the first date, I thought, I'm not going to see you again. He was talking about moving to California. Well, no way was I going to move away from my family. So that immediately told me, no, this isn't going to go anywhere. Second date we had, something clicked. And I knew he was the right one. And so we dated, and he used to tease me. He would tell everybody that I proposed to him, which was an outright lie. He proposed to me at Peony Park. And it was fun. We courted for, I don't know, maybe 9 months. And then he asked me to marry him. And I was just thrilled. I was so excited. I was really disappointed in him. He had gone to New York. His brother was in the pajama business. And he called me from New York, and I was really upset that he was gone. I missed him terribly. He was gone for about 6 weeks. And he called me and he said, "I've got a surprise for you." And I told Sally, my sister, "I think it's a ring." I'm so excited. I think it's a ring. Came back. What does he give me? A pair of pajamas. I wanted to kill him. I just wanted to strangle him. But then, after a couple of months, he did propose. And so it was great. We used to go out with friends, and I met a lot of people through Pacey because he knew a lot of people. And I was very proud of him. He was honored by University of Omaha as one of the 3 alumni who had really succeeded It was beautiful. They had a luncheon and a lot of people came. So he did well. He did well in the business and did well socializing. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Tell me about your wedding.
Oh, I loved it. I told myself beforehand, I said, you are going to enjoy this day. You're going to look as good as you can look. And everybody's going to be looking at you. You're going to be the belle of the ball. So enjoy it. And I did. I had a ball. Before we went down the aisle, this was at Beth Israel on 52nd and Charles. We were in the social hall waiting for our turn to walk down the aisle. Some of Pacey's friends were plying him with liquor because the bar was back there. And he drank some. He made it down the aisle, but I don't think he remembered anything about our wedding. And I hear men do this. They, I know I was talking to a priest, in fact, and he said his brother, they did that to him too.
Who were your attendants?
I beg your pardon?
Who were your attendants?
Oh, my attendants were my cousin Lorraine Stein, and my sister Sally, my sister Jean, and my niece Judy was a junior bridesmaid. And I think that was it.
Who for Pacey?
For Pacey, let me think. His brother Leo, of course, and he's another great guy. And let me see, Merle Potash, I believe, was another one. I can't remember who else. Have to look at our old wedding pictures. I don't recall, but he had a great group of friends. And he was very well liked by everybody, including me. And our wedding was wonderful. I just felt like a queen because I knew all the eyes were on me when I walked down the aisle. And I enjoyed the attention, I admit it, and I really enjoyed it. I got a little tired in our receiving line because I think the folks invited like 700 people. So I started getting very tired of smiling. My face started hurting. But it was a wonderful day. I'd like to talk about my grandkids. We all brag. I have a reason to brag about all 5 of my grandkids. The oldest, Esther, who was named after my mother, just got back from Israel. She was there for 10 months studying and teaching. And now, as I mentioned, she's going to go to Barnard College, which is affiliated with Columbia University. Wonderful girl. From the first day I saw her, I fell head over heels in love. They had just come back from Israel. She was born in Israel. And my daughter Amy was rolling her up from the plane. And that baby looked so tired. She was about 4 months old. She just was so exhausted. But when she saw me, she gave me the sweetest, dearest smile. And that was it. I was in love, and I still am. She's beautiful on the outside and the inside. Then there's her brother, Davriel, who's the sweetest boy. He's all boy, but he's sweet. He's a gentleman, kind, very, very thoughtful. And he's in a high school, a Jewish high school. And I'm not sure where he's going to go to school. I'm not sure he's decided, but he's doing extremely well and just very lovable and loving. And then there's my sweet Eliana, who's 14. Beautiful. She really is gorgeous. And sweet and thoughtful. And all of them, when they talk to me on the phone, when they finish, they say, "We love you, Grandma." They always finish by saying that, and they mean it. And then there's Sophie and Joseph. Sophie is 7 years old. Also very bright, if I may say. She tested in the 99th percentile. And she's taking elevated classes, I think, for kids who are a couple of years older than she. She's into athletics. She's into everything. And she's adorable. She's very loving. She'll come over and put her arms around me. And she's just a great little girl. And then her little brother, Joseph, who just turned 5, is a riot. He's just all boy. He's the biggest kid in his class, but he's so gentle. We call him the gentle giant. And he too is in athletics. He started swimming, and diving off the diving board when he was 2 or 3, a high diving board. In fact, it was cute. I didn't get to see this, but there would be big kids, like high school and college kids on the diving board, and there would be Joseph in the middle, this little guy, and all these big kids. And when it was his turn to go off the board, they'd yell, "Joe, Joe, Joe," and cheer him on. So I have a lot of nachas from my children and my grandchildren. They're a very, very important part of my life.